Această emisiune vă este oferită de Czech Bank.
Bună ziua, sunt Oana Osman, redactor șef Profit.ro. Vă spun bun venit la Profit Live. Discutăm astăzi despre ce se întâmplă pe piața energiei cu liderul celei mai importante companii de petrol și gaze din România și din regiune, OMV Petrom. Companie care derulează și unul dintre cele mai mari proiecte offshore de exploatare a gazelor naturale în Marea Neagră, Neptun, împreună cu Romgaz, care are o activitate importantă pentru întreaga economie românească, pentru bugetul statului, cred că și pentru țări din vecinătate, și care săptămâna încheiată și-a anunțat rezultatele pe 2024. Despre relevanța datelor publicate și despre implicațiile acestora, chiar dincolo de cifrele seci, despre ce urmează să se întâmple anul acesta și în viitorul apropiat pe piața energiei, vorbim astăzi cu Cristina Verșer, CEO, OMV Petrom. Ms. Verșer, welcome to Profit Live and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, these days you announced the group results for 2024. There were good news with some strong operational performance and better than planned hydrocarbon production, but something happened in gas and power. And after some good growth, you had 2 quarters on minus. So in this context, I will first ask you actually an open question to highlight the data that you consider the most important in the last year results, but also explaining in a more concrete way how exactly the regulatory changes for natural gas and electricity and maybe some other elements negatively impacted the gas and power results in the second and fourth quarter of last year.
Absolutely. So when we look at our full year results for 2024, overall our operational performance was strong. And I think that's important because obviously we're a significant contributor to Romania's energy market. As you mentioned, our production exceeded our plans and we were able to hold our decline to less than 4%, which is the strongest performance we've had in 7 years. In addition, our downstream assets ran at high capacity levels. That's a Petrobrazi refinery, which had a utilization rate of 97%. And our Brazi power plant as well was running its second best ever production in its history. And it's just over 10 years old, the Brazi power plant. So very strong overall operational performance. And that's really important because overall, OMV Petrom, we provide approximately 35% of the fuel demand in Romania, 35% of the natural gas demand in Romania, and 10% of the power consumption in Romania. So it's really important that our assets are running well. So this was good. However, like you said, actually, on the financial performance, we had operating result actually was down more than 30% between 24 and 23. In part due to lower commodity prices. And as you also mentioned, in particular in gas and power, we had losses in the second and the fourth quarter due really to regulatory changes that happened during the year. They started in April of 2024 that removed some recovery of CO2 costs that we had planned for when we had put those contracts in place. And so this put us in a loss-making position. We continue to see the power market as quite challenging overall, and we are looking forward to a journey back to a fully liberalized gas and power market. When you look at our investment levels actually was at 7.2 billion RON, 50% higher than 2023. And we are entering and have been between 24, 25 and 26, the most intensive investment time in the history of Petrom. So it's good to see that the capex is going up. 7.2 billion RON is important. In addition, because not as well as being one of the largest investors in Romania from the private sector, we're also one of the largest taxpayers, and we contributed 16 billion lei to the Romanian state budget in 2024.
The government is expecting you and many big companies to contribute because the need to finance the huge public deficits are really under pressure this year, and you know it very well. So actually more challenging fiscal news for companies like you came with the new, actually not so new, tax on the value of construction, taxa de stâlp, we call it in Romanian. It was tried before, actually in the past by the government. It didn't turn to be a very good idea, but it is back. So what impact do you anticipate from it?
Yeah. We are also going through many clarifying questions with regards to this new construction tax that has come, or as you said, been reintroduced and brought back into the fiscal system overall. At this point in time, it's difficult for us to estimate because we're expecting more clarifications, but we have put a degree of impact of what we call mid-double-digit million euro impact. But once we've got the clarity after the norms, we'll be able to really say what that amount is. Like you said, it is the way we feel is like a tax on those that have been big investors in Romania in the past by the nature of the way the tax is calculated on your book value, which is an indication of how much you've invested in the past. So there are some aspects about this tax in itself that tend to be a hindrance to investment. But we are in the clarification processes. And as we have always said, how a government or how a fiscal system is and a regulatory system and its competitiveness and its effectiveness in consultation is an important indicator for investors because obviously they want to understand the stability and predictability of an investment climate because our investments are very long term. So it is important and we will continue to be in dialogue through our associations on this particular fiscal intervention.
More precisely, maybe you can translate what is mid-double-digit million euros, like tens millions, mid meaning like 50 millions. I try to imagine how many tens of millions euros.
Yeah, if it's double-digit, that means it has two figures, right?
Tens, yes, tens
and
of
it's
millions.
in the middle, but we don't actually intentionally we don't put a number on it because we're not ready yet to do that. But it's sitting in the latter number that you talked about.
Okay, so tens of millions.
Yes. I mean, we have a long history of investment. When you have a long history of investment, you have a relatively large book value.
Speaking of investments, very ambitious plan. You announced record investment, 8 billion lei, RON. What impact will the fiscal environment have also on your decision to invest? Are those 8 billion euros conditioned by keeping the present level of taxation? Will it be adjusted in case of a tax increase? How? I mean, to what form of taxation is the investment decision most sensitive at?
Yeah, maybe a couple of thoughts. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we have a very ambitious investment plan, which is one of the biggest contributions we think we make to the Romanian economy. In addition to the taxes that we pay and the products that we provide into the market, obviously, is investment. And at this point in time, I believe we are one of the largest private investors. And this is what we want to be able to do. We also have a very clear strategic direction behind that investment, which is to increase energy capacity and to decarbonize. Yeah? And so we want to be able to do that, but it's not at any cost. Like you said, there are conditions, and most importantly, our investments have to make economic thresholds to be able to be moved forward. And the investment climate generally needs to be predictable. And so in that is governments clearly have the right to set fiscal terms. That's their role. What we look for is strong consultation so that the impact of those changes that they make are understood ahead of them making those changes. So consultation and predictability is what we're looking for, as well as competitiveness. And in particular, the onshore gas taxation in Romania is one of the highest in Europe. And at a point in time where we actually want to be producing more gas, and this is particularly for our onshore, which is actually the older part of our portfolio, reservoirs that have served the country very well, but you're going towards the more marginal developments, this very, very high fiscal burden actually is a detractor for investments.
Those 8 billion lei, make us see where those money will go, make the public see. What destination do we have for
There we
8
go.
billion?
Okay, yeah. So maybe if I go a little bit bigger picture. So we set out a strategy back at the end of 2021 and said from 22 to 2030, we will invest 11 billion euros. And we have spent about 30% of that. So of that 11 billion, about 35% is into low and zero carbon, and about 65% into fossil fuels, with the majority obviously being more towards gas because of the Neptune Deep project. And the reason I make those distinctions is to give you this sense of balance, because there's a big conversation going on about pace of energy transition, yeah? We want to change our products into the market, reduce their carbon footprint, at the same time making sure we have energy security of supply. And we believe with our investments we're able to do that. So coming back to the 8 billion, we will continue doing our, I would say, drilling and workover programs in our E&P traditional business, predominantly onshore. We will be developing the Neptune Deep project and continuing to spend money on that. In addition, we will be investing into our biofuels projects in Petrobrazi refinery, our HVO SAF projects, as well as building out our renewable portfolio. And all of those combined make up the 8 billion. So we're touching on every aspect, I would say, of traditional energy supply, gas, as well as decarbonizing the products we put into the market.
Is the investment in Neptune Deep also linked and dependent on the fiscal changes, or is it set and somehow completely insensitive to any possible fiscal burden, unexpected fiscal burden?
I don't think any investment is ever fully insensitive to the investment climate and regulatory climate in many ways. However, there are certain aspects in the offshore law that stabilize the fiscal system. And that was a very important aspect to actually understand before we made the investment decision, for the exact reasons you're talking about. If your conditions change on you when you're in the middle of a 4 billion euro investment, that can actually be quite an important detractor to do that. So I feel that is secured. And actually we even believe in the construction tax will not apply to the offshore because of that offshore law. But Neptune is, if I can have a Neptune moment, if I may, the Neptune project is making really, really good progress. It is on plan. We are about a third of the way through the project. It's 4 billion in total, 2 billion by ourselves, 2 billion euro by our partner Romgaz. As many of us in Romania know, the rig is in Constanța. When the rig is in Constanța, that means we're getting ready to start drilling. So in 2025, we will start drilling. What we have been able to do so far in the last year and a half since we actually made the final investment decision, we've started the construction of the platform. This is both the topside and the jacket. This is being done in Indonesia and Italy. We have started the works for the natural gas metering station in Tuzla. The support vessel is also being built in Poland. And we are going to bring this all together between 2026 to get first gas in 2027.
So things are advancing with Neptune Deep. What else is new and moving on, particularly for this project?
So I would say that if I stay with, in addition to Neptune, because we are,
yes,
as I
in
said,
addition
more
to
than
all
Neptune.
those, there so the platform is, I don't know, your partners. Do they have news that are helping with this project?
Yes, no, we have, Romgaz is a very, very good partner. We have a very strong working relationship with them. And I think we can all see that this project is, it's a very big gas development project, but I think it's very much more than that. It is about energy security. It's about economic development for Romania. It's about energy transition with a lower carbon footprint. It's about putting Romania even more on the map geopolitically as an energy provider to the region. And it's just about actually showing the world that a project of this scale can be done in Romania. So I think there's a lot of pride and excitement, at least here in OMV Petrom, with regards to this project. But like you said, we are doing many other things as well. On growing natural gas, in addition to the development of Neptune Deep, we are also looking at exploration opportunity in Bulgaria, in the offshore block right next to Neptune Deep in Bulgaria. We call it Hana Sparu. We have 50% equity in that block. We are the operator, and we're looking forward to starting to drill exploration drilling this year. On the renewable portfolio, we have built up a portfolio of solar and wind projects of 2.4 gigawatts, and we are going to start the execution of those projects to then gradually start up building actual green power into the market in 26 and 27. I mentioned that we have approved the investment of 750 million euros into the Petrobras refinery to produce sustainable fuels and 2 green hydrogen units. So that will also be going on into 2025. And then our electric mobility charging points, we are now the largest, I would think, holder of EV charging points in the country with over 900, and we plan to grow that to 1,500 by the end of this year and 5,000 by the end of the decade. So we are very busy. We have a very active team working with also many suppliers and contractors across the country to drive all of these investments forward.
For common people, for the public, well, people hope that once the production will start in Neptune Deep, the prices may go down in the local market. Is this public hope naive? I mean, our market is not isolated, of course. The context is more complex, or it could actually happen.
Yeah, so I think, so first of all, Romania is not an isolated market. It is a connected market. And this is really important when you're a net importer. Yeah, because actually, if you don't have enough of your own, then you need to be connected to the market. And this has been the underpinning of energy security for Romania. And therefore, prices are connected regionally because that's how the market works. What helps price overall, but it's at a regional level, not necessarily a national level, is more supply. So by nature, you will be bringing more supply into Romania, more into the region. But that will also need to make sure there is other supply coming from elsewhere to make sure there is the right supply-demand balance to drive the prices. So other things that can impact the price will be how much LNG is possibly coming from elsewhere, how much gas maybe is coming from Norway, all of these things, because Europe is a regional market overall. But the more supply you have, the likely better price you're going to have.
When Neptune Deep will be in full production, most probably the internal production will exceed the internal consumption. So obviously you'll have to sell abroad to export the gas. The regulator of the market, ANRE, said that you signed 2 export contracts with Uniper for Neptune Deep gas. Will you negotiate some more export contracts, given that actually the internal production will exceed the internal consumption?
Yeah. So what we, as you said, what we see overall is that there will probably be a period of time where there is more gas coming from Neptune that meets the local market needs, and therefore it will look to find other markets for that. However, we will always start with our Romanian market. And why is that? Your closest market is your most attractive market. And every time you cross a border, you pay transportation across the border. So you will generally be motivated by your Romanian market. And just maybe as a data point, 90% of our production today goes into the Romanian market. We have a small quantity that doesn't. It's going to Moldova and other places as such. But it's always been our primary market. But we will look to see if there are customers, and we did confirm the Uniper contract actually this week. It's a very small quantity of the Neptune volumes that have been sold. But as you said, predominantly our focus will be the Romanian market, but we will look for others. What I think is important is that this project and this gas supply, really puts Romania further and further on the map within its region. Yeah. And that, obviously, if you export, also helps your trade balance.
Casa ta te așteaptă. E acea casă pe care ai construit-o chiar și în joacă. Cu determinare, perseverență, imaginație și multă răbdare. Chiar dacă drumul de la încercări la realitate a fost lung, știi că a meritat din plin.
Pășește noua ta casă cu dobânda fixă de 5,55% la creditul ipotecar de la CheckBank. CheckBank, parte din viața ta.
Another decision still pending is for special dividends, you said. And, well, it is important for your shareholders, including the Romanian government, who could get some tens of millions for the budget. You will decide in July, if I'm not mistaken. And this decision will depend on what? Please explain also the mechanism for this decision.
Yeah. So what we did, what we announced actually this week was we announced our base dividend. So our base dividend is 0.044 RON per share. That is a 7.5% increase versus last year's base dividend. We have a dividend policy on our base dividend that will pay a dividend increase between 5 to 10%. So we're about halfway through in that interval, so within our dividend policy. We also say our total dividend will be at least 40% of our operating cash flow of the prior year, and this is also above that. So we're within the range of our dividend policy. We believe we have an incredibly attractive dividend policy because of this sort of 5 to 10% is almost, you can bank anywhere every year for that. So that's a pretty attractive one to put out. I think the special, so we paid a special last year, we paid a special the year before as well. What we said this year is that we will decide in the middle of the year if we will pay a special, and then we will communicate to the market accordingly. Because we want to understand a little bit about how the year is going to unfold with regards to commodity prices. In particular, I'd say the commodity prices, geopolitical nature of what's going on, but in addition, sort of the regulatory fiscal environment here in Romania. Mm-hmm. So we didn't say July, we just said middle of the month.
Okay. You talked about Neptun Deep, about the Black Sea, but from the Black Sea, let's move further across the ocean to the hot topics, some hot topics at international level, because we have Donald Trump turning the table with Green Deal and Paris Agreement, with drill, baby, drill. How do you see these changes? There are some dramatic changes. And what impact do you see for Petrom? How will the energy market will be changed? In Brussels, things are seen a little bit differently, but do you think things will change there too? They will follow the Trump example. You have big investments in renewable energy. Actually, you were one of the first companies to invest in this area. Already, I think, 2.4 gigawatts portfolio, if I'm not mistaken. This one on one hand, but on the other hand, of course, a huge investment in gas for Neptun Deep, old school drill, baby drill. Also Greenpeace protesting when you have public events, suing you in court, causing delays in the project. What's your perspective with these dramatic changes?
So I would say maybe two or three, I think, anchoring points that I think are important. So we do fundamentally believe it is vital for the energy transition to occur. And I don't think we're hearing too many people question that. I think we have enough points that say climate change is a really, really global matter that needs to be addressed. Where I think the debate will come is who's doing what pace is it going at, and how do you get the balance right so that you don't have energy supply issues and you also have affordability. And I think have always been debates and discussions, but it kind of depends on which is the key topic that's on people's minds. When we look at OMV Petrom, our investment plans are 35% for low and zero carbon, 65% for fossil, and of that 65%, a huge component obviously is on gas, which has a lower carbon footprint. So we look at it as actually we're quite balanced in our trajectory towards a lower carbon footprint, and that we think is a really important aspect of what we've laid out in our portfolio. In our 35% for low and zero carbon, we also have some things go faster and some things go slower. For instance, actually, when we first put our strategy out, we had a target of 1 gigawatt of renewable power. And in June last year, we updated it and increased it to 2.4. However, at the same time, we reduced our pace on biofuels. So I think what a company needs to do, or what we believe is, know the trajectory, but make sure that you're flexible about how you see demand patterns are going to change overall. And we think we've created that. In the end, what is very important, coming back almost to the first question, is that these are very economically driven projects. For that, you need the opportunity, but you also need good, stable fiscal and regulatory regimes to make those investments occur. Almost regardless if they're low and zero carbon or they're fossil, you need them.
The Romanian Minister of Energy, Sebastian Burduja, seems to share President Trump's views. He said that the Green Deal will somehow destruction or in some aspects for Romanian economy. And he said he sent a letter to all the relevant companies in Romania and asked them to assess the negative impact of the Green Deal on their business. Did you answer his letter? I'm sure he sent one to Petrom.
Yeah, no, we got the letter. And I mean, I think what is important is that in any big transition, there are things that are going well and things that help it and things that make it harder. Yeah. And so welcome always the opportunity to have a voice into, does this make sense? Can we question this? What about this to debate? So we are still in the process of putting our reply together. I think that for us, what we do see for Romania is that there is a huge amount of funding available to enable these projects to move forward, and that investment goes into the economy. So we see this as a very positive thing. We do also see a lot of bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy can slow down the investments or make you less competitive, less nimble, and it would be important to address those. So we are compiling our answer to be able to hopefully put in some good perspectives that I think make sure that we're doing this transition in the most economically efficient way possible while ensuring energy security for our customers.
Well, maybe some inspiration from United States may be taken, considering the burden of bureaucracy that you mentioned. How do you see the need to cut bureaucracy? What would you do if you were, let's say, head of a Romanian, Dodge, to cut bureaucracy? What concrete measures do you consider more urgent?
Yeah.
And where?
I mean, so I would like to say that, we don't have any bureaucracy and it's only governments that have bureaucracy. Obviously, we're a big company and we have bureaucracy as well. So I think we would start by looking at ourselves before commenting necessarily on others. We are always talking about it ourselves. We always say, do we need to do this? If we need to do it, are we doing it as efficiently as possible? Are we doing it as automated as possible? Because we see more and more requirements coming in, and therefore you need to start taking activity out. And actually, we were having an internal webcast this morning, and I think the quote was, don't simplify something that you don't need to do, actually. So, I mean, we look at that ourselves. We think it's very important for all companies to be as efficient as possible in how they do things, and we welcome that the state is looking at that opportunity too, because in the end, you want to use your resources, both natural resources as well as human capability, on the most important things that drive the economy.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in our neighborhood. There is a war in Ukraine, and this is a topic of interest for OMV Petrom, also actually for the entire energy market in the region. You helped Ukraine, you helped your company, also Moldova, when there was a crisis. Actually, you are the main provider of gasoline for Ukraine. You have gas station in Moldova. Moldova also imported energy from you. There are talks for peace right now. President Trump at least promised a quick peace. It is not happening yet, but people start thinking about peace. What's your perspective for the energy sector after the war? How will the market transform? Ukraine used to be an exporter of energy before the war, not anymore. What transformation do you see?
Yeah. I think we would all like to see peace back in the region. I think just as human beings, I think this would be good for all of us, regardless of the energy sector. Ukraine we have been, as you said, providing fuel. We sell them into Ukraine. particularly on the gasoline side. And as you said, we are already present in Moldova, so that is a market of ours that we are active in. I think that a lot of people you hear even talking about, okay, what's happening with Russian gas, etc. I think the learning, I would hope, that has happened for the energy sector in the last few years is energy security is something I think in the past that has just been assumed, and it's come much more to the forefront. And we have learned, I think, in that you need multiple sources, multiple suppliers. Diversification is a part of energy security, and we should hold on to that as a principle. Also, the energy transition is a part of energy security for the European Union. The European Union is a net importer of all energy, So if you can have more of your own, you will underpin your energy security. You will have the economic advantage of it as well. You will decarbonize as well at the same time. So I think it's important. It's not often talked enough about that energy transition is a part of energy security for the European Union as well, overall. So I think that's, to me, one of the big learnings is to make sure that there is diversification that underpins the energy security overall. And I think we would all hope to see that if there is peace, there is also the opportunity to help and see the reconstruction of Ukraine come back as well.
Till European Union will advance with diversification and with internal production. Do you think that after the war, the Russian gas will be back in European Union after the war? Of course, presuming that there will be a peace and an agreement in decent condition. Do you see a future for Russian gas in European Union?
There is. I think we need to recognize there is Russian gas coming into Europe now. So it's not.
It never stopped actually because there is not enough gas.
Stop because, so I think I think we can't say there isn't. I think I would come back though to my last comment is, if you put all your eggs in one basket and that changes on you, there's a big of a learning, that happened there. So I would think that would be smart for any learning to be careful of going down that path, regardless of who the supplier is, but keep the diversification because you never know what's going to happen. So this is what I would hope you would see.
In Moldova, you had a contract to export electric energy in the context of a recent crisis. Actually, it expired, that contract, at the end of January. Why wasn't it renewed? I think Energocom signed only with Hidroelectrica and Nuclear Electrica. Why not OMV Petrom? You didn't want another bilateral contract? I don't know.
In the end, each contract is negotiated on its own, depending on the needs. We don't tend to go into specific contracts. I will be honest about that overall. But Moldova remains a market for us, both on the fuel side as well as the power and gas side.
There is a perception from the public that we should help Moldova, and actually we helped. I think Moldova, and you helped Moldova. Can you explain how a company like yours, a big company, was involved in doing what is important that you did for Moldova and also for Ukraine, and that was quite difficult in the present condition?
I would say, we help. In the end, we're a commercial entity, and in the end, we are a supplier of energy, of fuel. And if there is a buyer, then we will work with that buyer, and if we can find the right conditions, we will provide with them. So, of course, it helps when you're a neighbor, and these are markets that we are in already. But in the end, they have a need. We are a supplier. We can find a commercial transaction, and our physical location makes us a logical supplier for both of those markets. We like the emotional side, of helping, but in the end, we are commercially driven.
Sure. For the public, the most sensitive topic is the price of energy, the price of gasoline, of diesel. Your forecast for Brent oil show a decline, with the price going down, I think, to $75 per barrel. I don't know exactly. What impact could this have on the price of gasoline and diesel?
Yeah, in the end, the prices that actually shows up at the pump really comes from, I would say, two main factors. One is quotation, which is generally following oil price, so they're going to have a delay with it. So it's a quotation price, and then excise and VAT. And then there's a small component of operating costs. So these really are the two components that make up the price. So sometimes you can see in different countries that maybe quotations might go down. It has a different timing, but VAT and excise is maybe going up depending on the country that you're in. So there are many factors that do that. Our pricing policy is that we are, as the market changes, we will do that gradually down and gradually up, so that any spikes that are going on in the market, we don't flow that through. We do it in a gradual way, and this has always been our pricing policy into the market.
Looking at 2025 and this year, what is the biggest threat and the biggest opportunity in your opinion for OMV Petrom, for a company like that, maybe for the market?
I think it's always nice to start with the opportunity. Our biggest opportunity, obviously, is our investment level. We see this as a really important way to contributing to increasing the quantity of product we bring into the market, helping the Romanian economy with that overall by being able to execute on the 8 billion investment levels. This we see as really, really important. As I said, it's our second year at this kind of level of investment. The threat to that, obviously, is a huge amount of work to execute. But I would say, in general, we just see, looking into 2025, we see price volatility and we see regulatory and geopolitical and fiscal volatility. And so this is what we see 2025 as a challenging year. In all the outlooks we announced, oil price, refining margin, gas price, all of them we saw going down. So this is a lower, more headwind on commodity prices for us, combined with more political and geopolitical volatility. Having said that, we are a very big, stable, resilient company. We're a big ship. We've been through a lot in these last few years between COVID, energy crisis situations, Ukraine. We are a very, I think, stable and strong company for Romania.
A thought for the government, something that you as a manager in Romania expect and hope from the authorities this year?
Good conversation, good consultation, good dialogue, understanding. Their job is to regulate and set fiscal. Our job is to invest. We need to understand cause and effect between those two. And we need to see Romania come out of this significant deficit issue. And everybody has their part to play.
Well, thank you very much, Christine Vercher, CEO OMV Petrom at Profit Life. Thank you for accepting the invitation to be with us here today. Mulțumiri de asemenea tuturor celor care ne-au urmărit astăzi. O zi frumoasă!
Această emisiune v-a fost oferită de Czech Bank.